Good afternoon, you guys. Okay, so ideas are flowing, channels open, insights galore. So, and I should also say inspiration too. I wanted to share with you emotional empowerment through releasing. And this specific video is going to talk about releasing through anger, okay? Very important topic, especially right now. There's a lot of anger and bitterness and resentment that have been coming up, and now it's just kind of flowing freely about. So let's talk about anger, and more specifically in relation to its tendency to be a mask or a lid for something deeper, more painful, more draining, okay? So the way anger works as a mask or as a lid, think about how your body feels when it's filled with anger and filled with rage, right? The physical response, how it feels in your body, it's very energizing, isn't it? I mean, it's a powerful emotion. It's a much different feeling physically than depression, than guilt, than shame, than feelings of worthlessness, And these are some of the emotions that anger can be masking. It often is a mask for something much deeper and more painful. All right. And so what ends up happening is, we don't, especially the way our lives are built, we don't have time for our energy to be zapped. Because especially if you're an empath and you feel emotions very, very deeply, you don't have time to be drained by feelings of worthlessness, feelings of guilt and shame. I mean, on a physical level, it's very draining and it can keep you laid out in bed, right? Seriously. So what ends up happening is, and this is happening on many different levels, right? And so rather than dealing with the emotion that is actually there, and this is all happening at a subconscious level, you'll consciously start to see it now that we're talking about it, but this is largely subconscious. So it's going to take some time for you to actually really pay attention to the pattern. And that's what releasing through this is going to help you do. You'll see what's actually underneath the anger. Okay. Once we release on the anger, through the anger, you'll see what's underneath. So subconsciously, we don't want to touch the painful feeling, the draining feeling that is underneath the anger. And so it automatically triggers the anger because it doesn't want to even address what's really underneath, okay? Because we don't have time. It's, number one, it's very painful. Number two, it's draining on so many different levels, right? So anger gets triggered, and that's the emotion that we feel. And, it can be helpful, I guess, if you know how to channel that anger in a constructive way. Like maybe you're somebody, when you get angry, you go to the gym, you exercise, you clean the house, you do things that are a little bit more constructive. But if you're more of an outward person, that can look like blow-ups in front of your family. You know what I mean? And rather than channeling that anger in a constructive way, the anger is more directed in a way that it's not, blow-ups against family members, taking pop shots at people, getting on the internet and posting things intentionally to piss people off. I mean, this is an energetic resource for a lot of us. Okay. That's why a lot of people tend to be very antagonizing, because they feed off of that anger. It is very physically, in an energy way of speaking, it's very energizing. When you're filled with anger, That's an energetic resource. You can take that energy of anger and then go about your day, as opposed to being hurt, you know, feeling shame, feeling helpless, any of the other more painful, more draining emotions that anger is covering for, right? Okay. So I'm going to teach you a process of releasing that is going to allow you to effectively and constructively process that anger in a way that's going to allow it to get up and out of your body, so that you can see what's underneath, so that you can address it and release through that as well, okay? Because the problem with it is anger does not address the deeper rooted issue. It doesn't. And it actually, a lot of the times, can cause more problems than it solves. But subconsciously, that's just a coping mechanism. It's another coping mechanism that is used to not deal with the real problem, right? So dealing with the problem that is underneath the anger is really what's going to heal you on a much deeper level, okay? And releasing through those more painful emotions and thought patterns and belief structures are going to help you so much more better than continuing this, you know, getting triggered out of anger cycle, right? And responding and reacting out of that. All right, so this is usually helpful for you if you're in that state of anger, but you can substitute it with anything else that you might be feeling right now too, okay? This is a very interactive exercise. You're not gonna understand the benefits of it unless you're actually doing it with me, okay? So we're going to ask ourselves some questions, because that's how the mind works. The mind is usually what keeps the triggers and the cycles going. It's the resistance. It's where resistance is born, and where it's perpetuated is through the mind, okay? And the only way you can really unravel the tentacles that the mind can really just hold on to something is by questioning your way out of it, okay? And so there are 4 basic questions we're going to ask to deal with anger and to release through anger, okay? So when you're feeling yourself in the state of intense anger, come back to this video and go through these steps, all right? All right, so the first question that we're gonna ask ourselves is, can I welcome this feeling? Can I welcome feeling angry? And what that does is it allows us to acknowledge the feeling rather than the natural inclination to run away from it, want to change how we're feeling, wanting to change the situation that's making us angry. It allows the recognition of it. It's part of dissolving the resistance, which makes it worse. Resistance makes the situation worse. It makes the feeling much more stronger, and it makes it harder for you to move past whatever the experience or the emotion is, okay? So welcoming does not mean you're inviting it in. It's already there, okay? Welcoming it in doesn't mean that you're creating something that's not there. Welcoming it means that it's already inside the house. It's already there. It's already active. You're just letting it sit at the table so that it can air itself out, okay? So first question again, can I welcome this? And then you can run through more processes. You can say, can I let this sit here? Can I allow myself to be with this feeling rather than trying to push it away, make it something that it's not, wanting it to, you know, just basically wanting it to go away, right? Okay. After that, the second question is, now that I've sat with it, now that I've let it air itself out, let it have its voice, can I let it go? Can I release it? Right? Can I let it go? The third question is, because sometimes the mind is like, hell no, I can't let this go. How could I let this go? This is bullshit, right? And that's okay. We're not resisting. We're not gonna, the whole point of these questions is we are not, we're gonna stop resisting. So if the mind is saying hell no, then that's okay. That's all right. We're not resisting that. The third question then would be, well, if I could let this go, would I? And then the mind will be like, well, yeah, obviously, if I could let it go, then I would, right? And we're still releasing, no matter what the mind is saying, even if it says F no, that's okay. The third question saying, well, if you could let it go, then would you? And releasing is still happening, okay? The fourth and final question is, awesome. Now that knowing that you could let it go if you would, when would you let it go? When will you let it go? And that's really it. That's the simple, most magical 4-step process that you can actually question your way through, and you can feel the heaviness start to lift. And oftentimes, as you start to train your mind to get more into alignment with what you're choosing to experience, you'll often feel the releasing happen with the first 2 steps, okay? And it's okay if you don't. Keep going through the questions, because these are layers, especially if you're talking about something that has been suppressed for decades, for years, okay? It's going to be like an onion. You might have to release on the same thing 20 times before you finally experience relief, okay? So just take a deep breath. And if you need to, go back through the questions again, all right? Now, as a caveat to that, because there are so many different layers to this, if your mind is kicking up any kind of blocks, any kind of dust, any more resistance, write them down. We're not going to try and trick the mind. We're working with the mind. The mind is a tool that we have to work with, and it might have some valid questions. It might have some valid evidence. It might say, I can't let this go because, write those down, and then you can release on those as well. Or it might say, no, I can't let go. Or, it can say, well, yeah, I could let it go, but write down the yeah buts. Write those down too, and then you can release through those as well, okay? Releasing is the most healing, the most empowering thing that you can do for yourself, okay? So once you've released through the anger, now you have the tool to face what's really underneath it, okay? The feelings of worthlessness, the feelings of not being good enough, the feeling of feeling hopeless or stuck in a situation that you don't want to be in. You can release through that as well, okay? Because the same system, the same process that you use to release through the anger, you can use to release through the more hurtful and painful feelings that the anger was masking, okay? So go ahead and bookmark this video, come back to it anytime you need to, release through the feelings as many times as you need to. Even if it takes 20 times, keep releasing, and you will find relief, okay? All right, talk to you guys again.